Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé. Before the 90 days, let's watch. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. As I always say, since this is a psychology podcast, everything that I talk about might have triggering material, so watch with care. Let's watch.
For fun, I'd like to build models, build Legos. What's a McLaren? It's a race car. It's gonna be so cool. Makes me happy just to let loose and just zone out and just...
Completely agree. I have a lot of Legos myself, like this one behind me. I don't know if you can see it, but there's all sorts of Legos back there. So we share that in common. So far so good. We're the same person. Let's see if we diverge at any point in the future.
Like a sugar, put them to bed, get them undressed, things like that. Bob, are you ready for your hearing aids?
I hear what I want to hear. Believe me.
You're very stubborn, Pop.
I'm not stubborn.
There you go. It makes me happy, but it definitely cramps my style living at home.
Yeah, it seems like maybe that's a mini theme on the show, are cast members having their parents or grandparents living with them and taking care of them, which is great. I think that it's fantastic to support each other in family and not, anyway, it's great to support people. But yeah, and Mike says that, it puts a crimp in my social life style, and so I wonder if that's a common experience, which would make sense, right? That it would make it hard to date. You have to spend a lot more time at home taking care of your family member, and you might not want to or be able to bring people back to your place because maybe it would be a little awkward. So it's an interesting thing to think about.
Michael, keep an eye on those pancakes because they'll burn on one side.
I know.
Better flip them over.
If I go out, they'd be like, "Oh, where were you? Why didn't you tell us? We were worried about you." But I'm like, "Oh, leave me alone." Pop, are they good, bad?
I don't want to answer that.
You have to.
Okay, so we don't know the extreme or the degree of that, but he's saying that when he leaves the house, that they're always asking about him. Where were you? We were worried about you. Is that just kind care for your son and grandson, or is it something more anxiety-based and more controlling? I don't know.
Just in the future, if you're going to settle down somewhere, very important for a man to know how to cook.
My past relationships, they've consisted of... That's really a tough question. I haven't really had a relationship in the past 20 years or so.
All right. It's always good to learn about the cast member's past. He's saying he hasn't been in any significant relationship in the past 20 years. How old is he again? Anyway, so why is that? Is that because of taking care of his grandfather? It seems like it would probably be more than that, or it's just a choice he makes. Let's find out.
Hang up.
Okay. It's leaking here.
Oh, sorry about that. A little bit. In high school, I had a somewhat of a serious relationship. It was for about a year. That pretty much sums it up.
Okay, interesting. So he had about a year-long relationship in high school, and since then he has not been in a relationship. Has he dated since then? It sounds like it's been pretty limited, if at all. So what's going on there? Is it just a personal choice? There's something wrong with that, or was there something traumatic about it? Was there something else going on? Let's find out.
Looking for a serious relationship, someone to just settle down with. So since I went 34 years without finding a woman in my local area, I just decided to change my location in a dating application and just switch it over to Columbia. And I met someone that made my dreams come true.
All right, we often hear that people will be having some trouble dating in their own town, and then they say, well, I wonder what it would be like if I dated someone in another country, and then that's where the story begins.
I first got the notification that I met his wife, right? I was just like, wow, is this really happening? I had to pinch myself. Ximena and I have been talking for about a year now, and I feel like I know Ximena fairly well.
All right, we're learning that they've been talking for a year online, and that there's a lot of I love yous, apparently. So what does that say? Well, before this show, I would have said, well, that means a lot. It's They've been chatting for a year. There's a lot of I love yous. They're in love with each other. But given what we've seen on the show, it really doesn't mean anything. I mean, it means something, but it doesn't mean a lot in that they might meet in person and have no chemistry. If you've ever been on a Tinder date before, you understand that can happen, where you're texting, you're like, oh my God, this person's perfect. And you meet in person, you're like, I don't feel anything for this person. Like, in fact, I'm repulsed, but over texting, I thought this person was the love of my life. In person, no. Or the opposite. So I guess we'll find out.
Not for nothing, it's the happiest I've seen you since Mom passed away.
9 years ago, my mom passed away from stage 4 colon cancer. And that was a really rough time in my life. Sometimes I would get too emotional, I would get angry. I wasn't really opening up to anybody.
Okay, we're learning a bit about Mike's past, and his mom died tragically from cancer 9 years ago. And he says that he had a lot of emotions about that. He says that he makes it sound like it was excessive, but it's not unusual, and it's really quite human to have years of emotions after the loss of a parent like that, or loss of anyone close to you like that. So I'm guessing that if I heard him describe his grief and his emotions and the, situations that, the emotional state, he sounds like he shut down for a while. And I think I would probably conclude, based on my experience with people going through grief, that his reaction was really quite normal. It's rough. I'm not going to say that just because it's normal, that means like it's no big deal. It's a big deal. It's a big deal to lose someone. Not everyone reacts that way, but it's, very common. And in our culture, we tend to look at that and say like, man, you're dwelling on the past, or you're weak, or move on with your life. And it's just, until you go through something like that, you just don't really know what it's like. It'd be very common for people to go through a big event like that. Now, we wonder, how did that affect things with him? And this is another kind of theme that we've seen on the show, either before the show begins or after the show starts running, where a parent dies. But did that make him and his dad and grandfather even closer, where he felt like he couldn't leave the house because of that? Or, I don't know. Does that play into what we'll see in the future? Did that play into him and Ximena or something? I don't know. I mean, there's no signs of that, but let's keep that in mind. And I'm just really sorry that he went through that. Sounds really rough. And I'm glad that he's able to talk. I will say that there's some green flags in that he can talk openly about his emotions, and he can talk openly about his experience in a pretty differentiated, fluid way. So that's a strength. That's a good sign.
But Ximena changed my whole life around. So from there, I just started opening up more and more.
Okay, this is actually similar to what we saw in The Bachelorette with Greg, right? That someone died, dad died, I think, and that he shut down, and then for the very first time started to open up when he met, was it Katie? Was that her name? And so it's good that that Ximena got him to open up and to smell the flowers, to have hope for the future, to be connected to someone again. It's good. But then you have to wonder, was his judgment clouded because of the state that he was in? I don't know. But I don't want to pathologize it at all. He went through a really rough time. That's normal. He was in a pretty depressive state. It sounds like he meets someone. She gives him reason to look forward to the future. He blossoms. He starts to open up. There's absolutely nothing pathological about that at all.
Progressing towards our future together.
So, are you planning on marrying this girl? What's the plan?
Well, if everything works out when I'm down there, the plan is I want to propose.
You're going to propose down there?
Now, you could also be clouded in terms of the relationship. You could be like, well, because it's one thing to fall in love and to say, this might be the one. It's another thing to fall in love and say, this might be the one. And without her, I will fall into the pit of despair, which may or may not be true. It could be true, but I would take a guess and say that if things didn't work out with Ximena, that he's on the way to recovery from his grief. I don't know that, obviously, but we would wonder if this makes him more desperate and less rational in terms of his ability to evaluate. But I don't know. I mean, they seem like, they really love each other.
Okay. Mike is 7 years older than me, but a lot of the times I feel like I'm the older brother just because I've kind of had a little bit more life experience than he has when it comes to relationships. A lot of times he doesn't make the best decisions for himself, but not like this. This is on a whole other level.
All right, well, we're learning from the younger brother that he feels like he's an older brother to Mike because he doesn't have a lot of experience and that he makes a lot of mistakes. I don't know what he's referring to. Is that just his role in the family? Maybe we'll learn. All right, well, if you want to participate in the conversation with other people, you can comment below or go on Discord or the Facebook fan page or the Instagram or what am I missing? Did I say the Discord? The subreddit? The links should be below. And as always, be nice to each other, give each other the benefit of the doubt, and at best support each other. Down below when people are commenting, on YouTube, and someone says something you agree with, say, hey, I agree with you. Or someone shares something that's personal, be supportive. We can all support each other and enhance the world in a better way. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.